How many of you are doing this on a daily basis? Yeah, well, wait till you hear this next story. It might change your mind that we know that this, in fact, causes brain tumors, right? Glioblastoma is happening in young kids today. And this story proves what the science is already showing. The fastest cancers are brain tumors and brain cancers, especially in the younger generation. But I don't think that we change this until we hear a story like this. Well, this is a real story, and you'll see how the perfect storm changed this young man's life, but now he's changing lives. So this is an episode you're not going to want to watch. You better share this one. You better make your kids watch it, because that generation is the one who's doing most of this. So stay tuned.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cellular Healing TV. I'm Ashley Smith, and today we welcome Logan Sneed, an incredible stage 4 glioblastoma brain tumor survivor who wrote the #1 best-selling book, Thank You, Cancer. Logan has conquered the odds and achieved the impossible. He's here to talk about how the worst things we have to go through in life can actually be a gift to us by forcing us to create the best versions of ourselves. How transforming your mind and your diet can increase longevity, fight off disease, and create a new you. Logan is a perfect example of how the power of the mind shifts our perspective and can save your own life. And to top it off, Logan has gained all of this incredible wisdom by the age of 23. Wow. So let's get started and welcome Logan Sneed and, of course, Dr. Pompa to the show. Welcome, both of you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Pompa, for having me on here. I've heard nothing but great things about this, and I'm really excited to be on here.
Well, I'm excited to have you. I don't know if it was Facebook or Instagram, but I watched some of your inspirational messages that you have, and they're always really good. Yeah. So we need to give your, what is it, Facebook or Instagram I see you most on? I think Instagram.
Yeah, I would say definitely Instagram, for sure.
Based on your age, I would say Instagram. But anyway, it's your posts do pop up, and they always intrigue me. So I have to say, you have a great message. Being 23 years old, one of the only ways to have a great message is to have great adversity, which you did. So let's start there. First of all, I want you to tell your story, but what was it like being diagnosed with cancer? Because that sets up, your story.
Yeah. I mean, kind of taking some steps forward, being diagnosed with brain cancer especially, was really like, it's almost like visualize yourself, walking out of a room. Suddenly you're walking into this room, and then in probably 5 minutes, your life is completely changed forever. And you walk out feeling like you added probably 200 pounds onto your back, and you feel lost, you feel destroyed, you feel like everything. That's what that felt like. And so going back into the time leading up to this, it was just a random day. It was a great day. I was actually in one of the best moods I think I've ever had in my life. And I was like, man, I'm feeling great today. It's going to be a new dream, new whatever. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to go to the gym. And I was in such a good mood that I was like, you know what? I'm going to FaceTime my girlfriend, just tell her hello and see how she's doing. And by the way, I've never FaceTimed and driven my car at the same time, never in my entire life, until this one day. And so I was FaceTiming her, and I was like, oh, hey, babe, hope you're doing well. Like, I'm going to the gym. Hope your day's going great. And suddenly I started slurring. Like, I couldn't say what I wanted to say. And she thought I was like playing a joke. And so she started laughing. And, it was like the words were right here at my tongue, and I couldn't get them out. And so suddenly, as she's seeing me on the phone, as I'm driving, I start seizing. And I've never had a seizure in my entire life. I knew what they were, but I never even thought of anything about them. And so I was having a seizure, and obviously she's freaking out as she's witnessing this stuff. Thankfully, it drove off the road into a ditch, and there was no damage to the car, no injury.
I see why you said you never FaceTime before, because if you weren't FaceTiming, I mean, who knows, right? I mean, meaning that she knew that this was going on, praise God, but go ahead.
And thank you for saying that, because I think every single podcast I have ever been on, it's been like, oh my gosh, why are you FaceTiming? I said, well, hold on, you don't actually get it. If I wasn't FaceTiming, I don't think I'd be on the podcast. It might be dead.
Yeah.
So she called the ambulance because she knew where I was going and everything. And they took me out, and they they obviously had to analyze. And so in the hospital, I don't remember any of this stuff. I was just knocked unconscious, and then voila, I'm in the hospital. And so my parents came in and they said, okay, what's going on with your son? Do you know, like, is he doing any drugs or anything? And they were like, no, gosh, no, he's never done drugs in his life. And so, they drug test me, nothing. They like, okay, has he ever had this? And, they're like, no. And so like, okay, we have no idea what's going on here, but we'll have to figure this out. And so they said, we may have to do an MRI because something could be in there. And so what happened was, it was kind of like
By the way, you never had one symptom, no headaches, the typical brain tumor symptoms you had never had before this?
Okay, so I'll elaborate on a little bit later on. Yes, I had significant symptoms of severe headaches every day for 6 years. And I'm going to be straight with you that I thought that headaches were like normal. I thought everyone just had a headache and Advil and it's gone. Now, Advil never worked for me ever, but I just kind of sucked it up every day and just said, yeah, headaches are normal. But I had that every single day for 6 years.
We'll get back to that because there's a lot of teaching points there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. But that was the only thing. Like, that was the only symptom. It was not like horrific, crazy things at all. And so, so the next day it led to an MRI. And so going into this MRI, I still was kind of blowing this off like it was a bunch of nothing. Really, it's just, I'm all good. My mom was basically shaking 24/7. My dad was as well. And so I come out of the MRI, then they start sending it to a neurologist. And the neurologist, the next day we met up with him. He said, okay, looking at this, it looks like there's a mass in your brain. He said, I can't tell you if it's a tumor. I can't tell you if it's just a mass that can just sit there and that's it. But we're going to have to look more into this. And he said, this is definitely big enough that I would really recommend brain surgery. And I want to hook you up with a surgeon that you guys can chat with tomorrow. So the next day, again, this is all within less than a week. The next day, I'm going to meet up with this brain surgeon here in Austin. And as soon as I meet up with this guy, as soon as I walk into his office, as soon as he walks in, he goes, hey, Logan, it's good to meet you. Hey, real quick, bud, I want to let you know that if we're going to be doing a brain surgery at where your tumor or your mass is located, you probably won't be able to speak or hear after this surgery. So I just want to kind of give you that warning before we go into this. And I'm like, well, geez. I mean, first off, I don't know the guy's name. Okay. He's saying surgery. I probably won't be able to speak or hear after this surgery. And this is all within like less than a week. And I'm like, wow, I'm going to be borderline mute, basically is what that is. And so
why do you think he started with that statement instead of like just hearing your story? Like, why would you start there? I mean, was he trying to blow you out? I mean, what?
I have no idea. And here you'll hear something crazy with that, right? Like the guy, a brain surgery, right? When somebody has a mass in their brain, whether they know if it's a tumor or whatever, they need to get it out as soon as possible, especially when it's huge. Like mine was a perfect egg is what it was. Perfect egg. That's exactly what the picture looked like. And when something's that big in somebody's brain, it needs to be out immediately. And he said word for word, he said, so real quick, I won't be able to do the surgery, tomorrow or the next day. It's going to have to be probably about 2 weeks. I'm going on vacation with my family, but I'll be back. And we were like, oh my God, like, is this guy serious? So we left there, and thankfully my parents don't have the mindset of saying like, oh yeah, he's probably right. They said, you know what, we're not going to work with that guy. Like there's got to be somebody out there who's better. Cause like, geez, he's got one of the most like serious jobs in the world. And he can't even like, my life's on the line. And he's basically just like putting in 50% effort basically. So we get connected with the #1 brain surgeon in the world, Dr. Raymond Sawaya. This guy he's a machine. So we go in there and I say, hey, Dr. Sawaya, am I going to be able to speak or hear after this surgery? I want to just be straight up with it. And he said, Logan, dude, if I'm doing the surgery, don't sweat it. I got you. You're going to be fine. And I was like, I'm like, wow. I was like, hey, doc, like, I'm not going to name this guy's name, but he literally told me the complete opposite. They said, you guys have the same exact job. The same life is on the line. And you're giving me 2 completely different answers. And I said, I'm happy with your answer, but I was like, I've never seen this before. So anyways, that gave me confidence. Okay. It gave me hope in the sense of like going into this of like, all right, okay, if we got to get brain surgery, let's do it. So the next day, like as soon as we met up with this guy, and this is what's different too. The other surgeon said 2 weeks are fine for us to wait. This surgeon said, no, we have to have surgery tomorrow morning. Be here tomorrow morning at 5:30 in the morning. We're going to have to get this thing out. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
I mean, everything was way opposite. I mean, way opposite.
Yeah. And
like,
so.
can I sleep in till 7? No way. The other guy, not 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And so that led to, in that day, it was more of like I was doing trial and errors tests, and I was basically doing almost a workout at the cancer center, MD Anderson. I was doing like all these workouts of like how I could function, everything. And so that meant next day, brain surgery. It was a 7 to 8 hour brain surgery. They woke me up in the middle of the surgery to ask me questions to see if I could still speak or hear. Because for those that are curious, the tumor was at the temporal lobe in the brain, which is linked to the speaking and hearing capability. So surgery was phenomenal. I was able to speak and hear the whole time. He removed 100% of the tumor. It wasn't 95%. It wasn't 97. It was 100% of the tumor. And I was confident. I was like, cool, tumor's gone. Let's move on. Life is still going. And 2 weeks later, obviously we had to wait for the diagnosis. We go into the room, waiting for the doctor to come in. This doctor comes in, and it's very eerie like energy she's giving off. Like super, like she didn't even want to make eye contact with me. And so that right then and there, I'm like, okay, something's really just like not right here. And obviously my parents sensed that. And so she said, she kind of sat down, kind of looked down, went, kind of scratched her head, goes like this. And then, Logan, I'm really sorry, but, this is going to be a stage 4, glioblastoma brain tumor. And it kind of looks like that you have about 1 to 10 years left to live. And I'm really sorry to say this, but there's nothing that we're going to be able to do about this. We'll try the chemotherapy, we're going to try radiation, but it's really about all we can do. And I'm really sorry to tell you that. And so in my head right there, that's another one shot to the chest of like, oh my God, like, okay, so I'll be dead here pretty soon. I'm going to take up time, space, money, energy. Like, what's the point of even being alive? Like,
Yeah.
I feel useless. Like, it's just no point. And so right then and there, obviously I felt done. And we go into this, my parents are like, they stay very calm, very, very strong. Okay. I got to give them that. And my dad goes, okay, well, thank you for the diagnosis, everything, but what, like, can we do something about it? Like, is there anything besides chemo and radiation that we can maybe bring into play? Maybe food he should or should not eat? Just, I don't know, anything, maybe, I don't know, cut out some sugars or eat more broccoli, like anything. And she goes, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. And he goes, okay, well, hold on. He said this word for word. He said, so you're telling my son that, he can go have a beer and a burger and that's it, and we can't do anything about it? And she goes, yes, sir. That's what I'm telling your son. And I'm like, wow, I feel like again, my life is on the line. I'm talking to somebody and there's no answer. So what's the point of your job? What's the point of my life here? That I left there, again, what I was saying is I added 200 pounds onto my back. That's when my life changed forever. And obviously when that happened at first, it was the most horrific things I've ever experienced in my life. I'll vividly remember every single second of that. Yeah. But right. Yeah. So in that time period, in those like maybe it was probably about 5 to 8 weeks, I was still thinking, I'm like, what can I do? I'm like, there's something more. I was like, there's got to be something out there. I don't know what it is, but there's got to be something. Okay. So my diet was getting a little bit better. I can elaborate on my diet before and how it's changed, but I'll kind of elaborate on this. I was eating, I went from white bread, wheat bread to now Ezekiel bread because I thought bread and I thought those things were like really essential. So I had Ezekiel bread, right? I had like, I went from, egg whites to, I was like, okay, well, maybe they're bringing in some eggs because I think omega-3 is good, right? So little things. Then one day I was down here in Austin paddleboarding with a friend of mine who's actually like one of my biggest life mentors. And he said, Logan, he said, have you heard of this ketogenic diet? And I was like, no. I was like, what is that? And he was like, well, I was just in Hawaii and there's a whole community of people there who actually do this. Like every single person there does this. And they've done it all their lives. They're all through ancestors and family and everything. And he was like, it's a high fat, vegan, protein, low carb diet. And he said, it's really interesting because there's been recent research on glioblastoma tumor specifically and potentially shrinking or preventing tumor regrowth. And I was like, whoa. I was like, wait, hold on. I was like, really?
Did
and
you
he was
read
like, yeah.
Thomas Seyfried's book?
No, I didn't actually. I had no clue. I had no clue who he was, anybody. And this was, this was almost 4 years ago. So this is when keto was like a bunch of nothing, right? It was like, it was very, very new. And so I was like,
I was teaching keto 5 years ago. Well, even more, actually.
Yeah, that's the crazy.
Now in vogue. It's now in vogue.
Yeah. So I was like, wow. I was like, okay, this is interesting. So I went home that day. I stayed up till 3 a.m. just searching the ketogenic diet. And I watched probably every video you can think of online. And I was like, okay. And I was reading it because here's the thing too. In that day that I had the seizure, was actually my day one of a journey of lowering body fat percentage to start shredding down, seeing more lean muscle. Because I always had a mindset of getting like really swole. I was like, I'm gonna just load up on carbs, like boom, 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 like 4,000 calories, protein, sugar smoothies, like crazy. And I saw in the results that people can get from keto, you can shred body fat. And I was like, whoa. I was like, wait, shred body fat? Like, okay, I can feel amazing in my brain and my energy, and then I can like potentially prevent cancer from coming back. I'm like, whoa. So that next day, I went full throttle, 100%. I didn't become a master in one day, and I wouldn't say I still am a master, but I literally went full throttle, and it's been 4 years and absolutely no tumor regrowth. And it's been such a journey of things getting better and realizing that these things have actually been a huge gift in my life. So, yeah.
That's incredible. I have to ask this question, right? Especially regarding your age, what side did you always put your cell phone on? You know what I'm saying? Because we know glioblastomas are linked to EMF exposure, and so many young people are getting them now like never before. So, I mean, that's why when we buy a phone, we actually check and we agree. When we hit agree, that we're agreeing that we know that there's research linking cell phones against our head to tumors on, that side. So, I mean, did you use the left side? I think you said left. Yeah, left side.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? The question was, how did this tumor come about? Doctors said, word for word, we have no idea. This is not in your DNA. I'm sorry, we don't know. So yes, I would do hour-long phone calls in middle school and early high school, with girlfriends up till 3 a.m. in the morning with the phone like this to my head on the left side, and I would just lay down like that on the bed. That's it. Makes it super easy, super simple. And I would do that for hours on end.
People listening, use speakerphone. Distance is your friend. Even if you were here, you'd have a better odd. But the fact you were laying on it, I mean, of course. Man.
And it's even like AirPods, right? Like as I'm on here.
AirPods. I've tested them. They have to be wide. Those AirPods are like thousands of times higher. When we know cellular damage, I haven't measured. I proved it to my kids. At a certain point, 0.5 DNA damage starts to happen. And we were 1,000, 2,000 fold above that when they put an ear pod, and they all stopped using them after that.
It's crazy.
Oh man, it's unbelievable. I mean, just that your message. I mean, you've got to get this message out. I mean, that's obviously why you're on the show. But what a difference. I mean, you were willing to change your diet, which obviously there's research showing, right? I mean, cancer, these cells will multiply and feed on sugar, right? It's like, so it wasn't like sugar led to your diet. It's always a perfect storm. EMF exposure, feeding bad cells, right? Creating more bad cells. And of course, the perfect storm occurs.
Yeah. I mean, elaborating with that, it's almost like you take all the variables, you put it together. So the tumor was 6 years old. It was in my brain for 6 years, and I had no idea. And suddenly the seizure was that one day that we found out. But 6 years before the diagnosis, I had a traumatic injury in a basketball game where it was a long story short, but I was taking a charge. And so I was like trying to block the guy from dunking, and he elbowed me maybe on accident. I don't know. Elbowed me. And then as I'm coming down, my head's going down on the ground, and boom, his foot is smashed right into my head. My eye was swollen shut for a week, and it was a traumatic injury. And then over the years, I've had scars and stitches here up on the left side of my face, which has also been a potential, starting point of that tumor. And then obviously adding to that, I would have severe inflammation all of the time, not only because of the amount of sugars and carbohydrates I was eating, but with the amount of training that I was doing. I was doing 2 to 3 workouts a day, every single day for an entire year, and then years upon end. And then I was doing poor recovery. I was like, all right, I need 6 hours of sleep, no more. That's it. I'm getting up at 5 a.m. So just severe inflammation with severe stress on a daily basis with the EMF and all those things.
I want people to hear this because, see, this is one of the things I train on, right? It's always a perfect storm, meaning that why doesn't everybody get brain tumors? Well, it's because it's a perfect storm, meaning physical, chemical, emotional stress. And if you remember the movie, it's 3 storms come together and a catastrophic storm occurs, right? And if it was 2 storms, it's a bad storm, right? You might have headaches without a brain tumor, but when it's 3, man, the bottom falls out, catastrophe. right? And that's exactly what I see day in, day out when I deal with very, very sick and challenged people. So you were overtraining. That's a physical stress, right? And your body doesn't know the difference of physical, chemical, or emotional stress. The EMF it's a wavelength stress, right? I mean, it's similar to a toxin. It's a chemical stress. And of course, the standard American toxic diet. So we have chemicals, toxins, we have physical stress. I don't even know the emotional stress that was going on in your life, but it didn't matter because you already had 3 storms. And then you had the EMF massive exposure. 3 storms, bam.
Yeah.
Diagnosis will come, right? So, people have, we find that people have cavitations where they have wisdom tooth pulled out on the side where they get cancer, breast cancer, brain tumors. That can be part of a storm. Root canals, silver fillings, metal, which creates part of a perfect storm. And then they put their cell phone there. I mean, these perfect storms, my point is, it could be many, many different things, many different things.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. And that's what I want people to hear. All right. Well, this is an important point though. So what's the difference between you and the person who just goes in, even with the first guy, and says, okay, 2 weeks. All right, doc. It's like where you were going, no way, right? I mean, that would have been me.
Yeah.
No way. So what's the difference? Or, what's the difference of you and someone who goes, wait a minute, your family just started asking questions about cause, but then there's other people who just go, oh, okay, I'm just unlucky because that's what doctors think. What do you think the difference was?
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. I've always had that mindset of like, pushing to be my own, like, really pushing beyond my limits in many different facets of, athletics, sports. I've always had that my whole life. And I think what it really was is that we were like, okay, this doctor may not be an idiot, but like, I don't think the doctor can tell me when I'm going to be dead. Okay. Like a doctor is not going to determine my life. And I think that's what really sparked it, is like the doctor's saying I'll be dead. And I don't have that mindset of like listening to somebody who's going to tell me that, because I've always had an entrepreneurial mindset where I never, ever, ever wanted to work for somebody. I always wanted to be my own CEO, my own entrepreneur, all of those sort of things. And I was like, well, hold on. Okay, now I want to be an entrepreneur. Okay, now this person's threatening my life, basically, that I'll be dead soon. So I'm really pissed off. And that's as simple as what it was. I got really upset. Like, I didn't get upset like emotionally. I got upset, like, I got super mad about it. And because I got mad about it, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go figure it out. Like, forget that. Like, it's going to happen.
By the way, I call you a 3%er. And when they interview people who beat a brain tumor, cancer, even change the world for anything, when they're interviewing these people, they say exactly what you just said. They said, I made a decision in that moment that I'm not going to be that. That's what you just said. I made a decision in that moment that, you were going to do whatever it takes. You're not going to believe that person. You're not going to let that person dictate your life, and you were going to beat this. I'm telling you, that's the mindset of a 3%er. 97%ers, they go, oh my gosh, and they take it on. They take the diagnosis on. They don't, they're defeated in it, and they make a decision to die. It's like they make a decision to listen to their fear, right? Which is calling out. But I always say this when I teach on that 3%, 97%ers. 3%ers still go through times of fear, but we choose otherwise. 3%ers still go, oh my gosh, what were some of those moments in your life, or in this, journey, I should say, that you went through discouragement, and, doubt, and maybe I will die. Did you have those moments?
Yeah. I think I definitely, so I'll explain this, right? Stress was a huge thing in my life. I mean, ever since I've been born, right? Like, I think everyone has that. And I definitely went through a time of like, when keto was so new, okay, it was brand new. I mean, I say brand new, at least like for the world almost, it was brand new. And I was posting so much on social media, and it got to a point where I was getting so much social media hate. People were like, you're scamming people. This diet is ridiculous. Like, I don't know what the heck you're telling people to eat. The fat here makes no sense. And I was getting like comment after comment after comment. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, this is horrible. Like, it hurt me. Like, it hurt my heart. And so I was like, maybe they're right. Like, maybe I should just stop doing this. And I don't know. Like, I almost listened to it, but obviously I didn't. And I've gotten these other times where, people say, well, if you do what you're doing all the time, if you keep fasting like that, you're going to starve yourself. And if you keep doing keto with that, you're really destroying your muscles and your body and yada, yada, yada. And so at first I definitely was like rethinking things, but then I'm like, you know what, hold on. Like, I mean, I was like, life is never going to give me a path where there's no, obstacles like that. And in order for me to get from point A to point Z where I want to go, I have to go through that, or I can run from it. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to go through that. And hey, God forbid it doesn't work and I die tomorrow by getting hit by a bus. So be it. It is what it is. I'm doing everything I possibly can. And so, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is like those things definitely happened, but I use those things and I just kept my tunnel vision of where I really want my life to go.
Yeah. You said another thing 3%ers say, a lot of people they want to go around adversity and hard things. You said, I just knew you had to go through it, and you did. And that's how you come out the other side, like you are, right? A better person. Tell us, about that transition, in your mindset. I mean, obviously you had the transition into at one point to this is a gift, and not only a gift, the greatest gift in my life, because that's what happened through my illness. Is there was times, as I was saying, where it was very hard going through it. There was times where I doubted maybe I'm not going to get better, right? But ultimately, at a certain point, I made a decision to get better, and I stuck to that.
Yeah.
But I also made a decision that, and a realization that this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. As a matter of fact, I needed this to even be here today. I needed that. How did that transition look for you?
Yeah. So it was like, I'll elaborate, right? My diet back then, I thought that eating straight carbs and just 4,000 calories, I thought that was the proper way of doing things. And I thought that's how you got, swole, you got healthy, right? And so I thought fasting, I thought that was like the worst thing that you could possibly do. I was like the last person you could ever expect that would ever do fasting.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a calling of like, okay, either you want to die or you want to do something different. And I said, okay, I would rather do something different. So I did a 180, right? Now I'm at this 180 and I'm in this route here. And I'm like, wow, okay, things are different for sure. And I said, again, I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to make it work. And what kept the consistency and what kept that vision is a quote. It goes, "It always seems impossible until it is done," by Nelson Mandela. Until you actually do it, it'll always be impossible in your mind. But until you actually do it, you won't actually know. And so I saw that. And I think some of the things that give me the confidence, the consistency, and how I felt is every time I go into these MRI check-ins for the past 4 years, every single time it's been the same exact answer. Hey, Logan, it looks great. Nothing here. We'll see you in 4 months. Great, doc. We'll see you then. And I keep coming back and I keep coming back and I keep coming back. Hey, doc, here's the answers. Hey, doc, this is what it is. And I know by what I'm eating, not only does it taste great, but I feel great and it's giving me great results. So by continued work ethic, I'm seeing actual results, right? It's not even like results that I'm thinking about. Of course, I'm always very confident about what I think, but I'm seeing the results. I see a picture of my brain. Wow, just big hole there still, no problem. We'll see you then. And that's what keeps it really rolling. Is just seeing the results.
What did they say? Because I mean, did you ever speak to the doctor who said 1 to 10 years? What was their comments about that? I mean, here you are.
Yeah, well, we actually did not speak to them. She actually, okay, this is another funny story. We didn't actually try and get this doctor fired by any means. We just gave it a word of saying, hey, this is how the diagnosis went. This is her tone. This is how she acted. And this is everything. Like, we're not trying to fire her. We just want you to know so this doesn't happen to, a million other clients you may work with. I don't know. And so they actually almost fired her. They had a huge board of director, meeting. We never chatted with her again. The other doctors, right? The other doctors, they said, not one of them has said, wow, that's interesting. Let me note this down here for real quick. And I'll we'll look more into this. Not a single one of them. They said, okay. All right, let's keep doing your thing. That's it.
Yeah, they think they first thought you were unlucky, and now they just think you're lucky. That's it. I mean, honestly,
exactly.
That's the mindset. How much fasting did you do? I mean, obviously I'm a big proponent of fasting. How long of fasting? How often? Daily fasting? Longer fast?
Yeah. So when I started keto, right, at first it was really not. It really wasn't once it fast. I didn't know fasting was part of it. So I did a fat coffee and then 2 meals a day. Then over time, I went to the 16-8 where I just had a black coffee and then 2 meals a day. And then now it took me to the sense of like, I was like, all right, 18 hours. So now I did 18 hours and then 2 meals a day. Then I got to a point over the past year is where I do about 20 to 22 hours. So I did, and I still do, probably about 1.5 meals a day, if that makes any sense. And so now my fasting windows.
That's what I do most of my days. I mean, some days I just eat one meal, but I do one
Yeah.
and a half, and I typically eat that in a 4-hour window, 3 hour.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, exactly. That's where I'm at now, is like anywhere from 18 to 21 hours is usually my fasting window. And that's what I do every day now. And I feel great. And you look back then and you'd never think that I would do any of this stuff ever.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, man. I mean, obviously, you know, God has a calling in your life. I mean, I see it clearly. And, you know, this story is playing out with younger people your age. And that's what scares the heck out of me, man. You know, but again, it's hard for me to impact that generation.
Yeah.
But you have been called to bring your story to that generation. You really have, you know, because,
Thank you. Yeah.
you know, I mean, and it's a message, you know, I mean, my book talks all about this, right? It's where you have to, you know, literally get our bodies burning a different fuel. Most Americans are stuck as sugar burners only, and the cells can use sugar or fat, but they're stuck as sugar burners, which leads to cancer and leads to other health problems, obviously hormone problems. But we add this new cell phone problem to this equation, and this is really becoming a massive epidemic. So, you know, looking ahead with what I just said, you know, what is your aspirations and goals to bring this message to more people?
Yeah, I mean, my goal is to create the best version of myself, is what I call it, right? Happy, healthy, wealthy, creating the best version of myself. So that's mindset, that's diet, that's habits, it's environment, belief, everything. And if I'm doing that, I want to show the world what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And if they see what I'm doing and how it's working for me, that could help them change their own life. That could help them see what's possible. So I want to show the world, like, hey, this was my life. This was my story. It almost destroyed me. And I don't want anyone else having to experience this. So please, like, I'm not forcing anyone to do anything, but I'm saying, please look at what I did, and here's what I'm doing now. So I got from point A to point B, and I don't want anyone going through this, right? Because people are doing it every day. Like, I'd say millions of people are holding their phone to their head right now, and the brain cancer rate, which is the scary thing, is the fastest growing cancer in the world. It's the least funded, and it's the most deathly. So it's one of those things that's on silent that no one wants to talk about. No one wants to really accept it. And, you know, it's kind of hidden, but people are having tumors right now and they don't even know it.
Oh, exactly. Are you writing a book? I mean, obviously you're getting on as many podcasts as you can. I guess what I'm saying is we've got to get you in front of many people as we can, Logan, because, you know, look, I was speaking in Africa years ago, and I had a translator, you know, and here I am with these, you know, leaders in Africa and very important people. And after I was done speaking, the most important guy of this whole leadership conference beeline to the stage. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what did I say? And he says to me, Dr. Pompa, your authority doesn't come from your years of school and knowledge. It comes from the victory God gave you.
Wow,
so,
that's
Logan,
awesome.
Your authority. And I didn't even know what he meant at the time, honestly. Now I look back and I'm like, oh my God, he was so right. Now, your authority comes from the victory God gave you. Right. So, you know, you don't need a schooling. You don't need to be a brain surgeon. You know, quite the opposite, as you see. Right. Your authority, God gave you victory, and you have great authority in this area. So the question is, what are you going to do with it? I mean, look what you're here, right? I mean, but my point is that, man, we need you in front of as many people as we can.
Yeah.
We do.
Absolutely. That's my goal. I wrote my book, you know, Thank You Cancer, just showing people how, like, there's a lot of things that I did not talk about on here because I could talk all day.
We'll put a link for your book. Let's make sure everyone gets your book. Please buy this gentleman's book. My goodness, you know, there's lessons learned here, and then you can have your kids read the book.
Yeah. I talk about depression, loneliness, diagnosis. I mean everything all up in there. And so, I mean, that's my book. And obviously public speaking is my biggest dream of, like, if I can speak in front of thousands of people and one life is changed in that talk, then voila.
I want to have you at one of my seminars talking about this, right? Because stories tell, stories sell. You know, that's how you inspire people to change something in your life. Give me figures on brain tumors and cell phones on my ears and diet, you know, blah, blah, blah. Tell the story, you change lives, because people go, oh my God, you know, this is reality now, right? I've read something about this. Now I know, you know, that this is reality. So, I want you to speak to my doctors just to put fire under them. That's for
Oh,
sure.
that'd be awesome. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I don't mean to scare anybody on here, but it's about $1.4 million to go through brain cancer, of chemo, radiation, surgery, MRIs, everything. Now, thankfully, I am on my family's business insurance. My parents own a company and I'm quoted a employee. So I'm covered on that, but that is the average cost for brain cancer patients, $1.4 million.
Yeah. Well, look, no, you should scare people because people need, unless they, how are we going to get cell phones off people's head unless they get scared about something? How are we going to change
Yeah.
their diet? How are we going to get them fasting? How are we going to, unless we scare them? I mean, honestly, that's the point. Look, I'm disciplined and I do the things I teach and preach. You know why? Because I'm scared to death to go back to the way when I was sick. You're scared to death.
Yeah.
To have that brain tumor start to grow. All right. I mean, so, fear can be a driver, right? So can pleasure.
Exactly.
Fear can be a great driver.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Well, man, I hope people get your book, and you said it, you said, you had times of depression. You had times that, 3%ers still go through depression at times. 3%ers still have fear, but 3%ers push through it because you made a decision, man. And I so appreciate that story, Logan.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you for being here and sharing your story. I want to put your Instagram page here so people can keep hearing your inspirational messages, follow you, and we'll put a link for your book as well.
Man, thank you so much, dude. Hey, I have your book. It's amazing. It fits. It's so cool because it's about my story of like, okay, here's what happened, right? And then here's fasting, right? It's like a story and then information. It's like brought together, and it's perfect, man. I really, really love it.
Yeah, awesome, Logan. And I just want to bring you on my Facebook or Instagram. So I'm gonna
absolutely.
Ashley will connect you to my son Daniel, who can make that happen. Because what I want to do is I want people to watch this. So if we just do a little piece and get them to watch this and share this, we'll get the message out. So Ashley will make that happen. But Logan, thank you for being here today.
Man, thank you so much. Absolutely. Let's keep in contact.
Yep. Got it.
Cool.
Well, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, which was brought to you by Fastonic Molecular Hydrogen. Please check it out at getfastonic.com. We'll be back next week and every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. We truly appreciate your support. You can always find us at cellularhealing.tv, and please remember to spread the love by liking, subscribing, giving an iTunes review, or sharing the show with anyone who may benefit from the information heard here. And as always, thanks for listening.